Yo, what up? What up? What up? It's another episode of the Shark Cove. It's a Friday edition. I don't know about you guys, but like when I hold a pen in my hand, I feel like I have like additional level of authority. I feel smarter. I feel more together. Maybe it's like a magic wand. I don't know. I'm just going off on some shit right now. Hey, look, this is an exciting slate. I don't have all my stats updated, but it doesn't matter. Just have to figure out what Sims will tell us, and that's all we need to know. Apparently, luckily, I have a guy on the show. We're not running completely solo this week. I got a guy. He has some Sims. He doesn't have those Sims, but he has some Sims, and maybe he can give some insight on whether or not today is finally the day we get to cash in that ticket. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stay tuned because we'll talk about it. But the guest, without further ado, is Nathan. Welcome back to the Shark Cove, Nathan. How are you?
I think I'm in now. My internet went out for a sec. I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Well, look, you're in. You're in. I can hear you. I can see you.
Sweet. What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. So
I've heard from the best that the best bettors in the world don't do any sort of modeling or simming. So that's what I'm going to run with from here on out. Okay.
I mean, yeah. Hey, it makes sense. Unless you're like a one sport specialist, I don't know how that would work. And even then, maybe it's just team grind the tape. You know, like there's something to be said about being able to put your eyeballs on something and tangibly see what it is, as opposed to whatever biased numbers and projections will tell you.
Exactly. You don't want the data messing with your head. You know, if your intuition's good, you can figure it all out.
Yeah, absolutely, totally, 100%. It's the only way to go. That's why I watch NFL Red Zone, so I can watch all the games and have all of the data that I need, all the scoring, tangible plays that go into building DFS lineups. But look, DFS isn't really gambling. That's more like player props, like Prize Picks or Underdog.
Right. Exactly. Couldn't.
Well, Nathan, today is an exciting day. I think I'm finally ready to pull this ticket that I have, this ticket that I've been waiting to cash in all season, and I think it could be. Is it time to cash in my Bro Day ticket?
Are they a favorite tonight?
Well, let's take a look. They are, in fact, a minus 170 favorite against Hanwha Life.
Oh,
yes.
Come on. Those are my two favorite teams. My two favorite LCK teams.
They're not my two favorite LCK teams. My two favorite LCK teams, as a matter of fact, are playing later on in the night. But hey, look, I was one of the very first people, I think, at least in the circles that we run in, maybe second, but to really embrace Bro. And I embraced them back in 2020 when they were a ragtag group of guys that for some reason could only beat the Super Damn One gaming team. I won one or two of those wonderful, man, I wish they still had these. So, you had these 4-game slates like we have tonight, but then they would do a 2-game short slate and like 2K to first.
Oh, yes, I remember those. They're great.
So those were amazing. You could chase your losses after you were dead after the first game. You get that like 2K to first, 14 max. Man, those were the days. Now, I mean, you're lucky to get that on a LEC or LCS slate as like your main GPP, let alone as a secondary slate.
Yeah, I used to chase. If I ever had a bad day or a good day in general, I was playing the late slates, but I was only playing the winner take alls because I would just take whatever the lesser dog was and just slam them in winner take alls because everyone's playing the double faves in there, or they used to. It used to be a lot softer than it is today, but it's still, you know how they are.
Well, look, last night was pretty soft. If you were a BLG believer, you were paid in the winner take alls. I did not see many BLG owners there. It was quite a few OMG owners. It was quite a few support captain teams. And Top Esports almost let me down. Gen G almost let me down. I wish I had DRX there, but I wouldn't have wanted them in winner take alls because I still was able to pull it off. But, getting back to this match at hand, we've got Frederick Brion playing Hanwha Life. Hanwha Life has been a relative goldmine for fantasy points, even amongst teams that are a little bit slow. Brion is not that team, and one of the reasons I really like Brion I don't want to bet Brion at minus 170. Don't get me wrong, that line's absolutely atrocious, and I would never touch that. Two bad teams, but from a DFS perspective, man, this Brion team has been scoring good in 1-2 losses. I can only imagine what they do in a 2-1 win. I can only imagine what they do in a 2-0 win. I don't expect them to get 4 Barons, but I expect them to be able to win this game against the ragtag Hanwha Life that's swapping out players, just trying to find a spark.
Yeah, didn't they last game for HLE they lost 2-0, right? And they subbed after game 1 both Sam D and Willer.
Yeah, and it was funny because I had a couple HLE lineups, and I was like, I captained Sam D, and I was like, I'm dead. And then all of a sudden, Sam D came back out. I was still dead. It didn't change anything from that beyond that. But this is the betting portion of the show, and while I think that this line is not one that I really want to get in bed with, and I really don't want to bet the other side of it. My question is, we've seen it quite a few times. And look, I was betting these lines before this was a thing, and I almost feel like I let go too early. I was an early adapter that let go, much like some of the great Pro series that we've gotten. But Nathan, should I place some wagers on over 31.5 game totals at plus 800?
God, that's I feel like plus 800 is like not enough. Like, okay, so wait, so what is the game total currently? Like
the game total is listed at 21.5. I mean, that's the minus 110 over.
So if we can assume, I mean, well, if you do the math or whatever, it's probably not good enough at plus 800, but it also is like close to like take the plus, like the over 30. It's probably close-ish, a couple percent off, so I don't mind it. I don't mind it for the absolute degen sweat,
Yeah, I would say that looking at these two teams, and there was talk in the Discord that there was no foreseeing this, the DRX explosion.
35 kills.
Yeah, look, there's no seeing that, but I do think that Nongshim and DRX, being a Fiesta shouldn't have been a surprise. I mean, not to that level, not to that extent. And I'll be honest, after game 1, I certainly didn't see Damwon scoring 33 kills, but it was only almost a week ago when EDG put up similar type of numbers. A little bit more expected because they are an LPL team, and just on average, those games go over a little bit more or have a higher kill total. I shouldn't say they go over, but we've been seeing this just pop up a little bit more often with these changes to the meta, these changes to the game as a whole. I don't know. I think I want to attack some of these. It's the end of the season. These are two bad teams. I definitely think that there's a possibility, but maybe we'll line shot. Maybe this isn't the game we attack.
Maybe they throw in what's his name, Juhan, and they whatever his name is, and then they throw in the Chioni again for HLE. Maybe you get Juhan's DRX. I was thinking DRX. Maybe Raptor sees some playtime somehow. I don't know if he's playing on the academy team now or what. It's very possible that we see some moving parts, and then they just don't know how to end a game. So I don't hate the taking that over for fun. I don't think that you should be banking on that to be your night, but I don't mind.
So I'm not putting my rent money on it, nor do I think that they would allow me to bet more than probably $100 on that. But thinking that they need to have Raptor in to not know how to end a game, like we've seen, not end a game. 4 Barons, not end a game. So I don't think that they need to sub in Raptor. So look, the only bet that I'm interested in is that plus 800. If over 31.5, if I'm doing it, maybe doing like a quarter unit. I'm going to do it for every one of the games, because the absolute worst thing that could happen is that they miss it in game one. That's the one that you have it bet on, and then they do it in game two. And I will say that, I have attacked this type of line a couple times this season, and I have missed like the 31.5 by like one kill multiple times in the LCK on teams that didn't necessarily profile for it. So it's a good chase. It's a nice sweat. It's a really good way to start your day. It gives you a lot of extra units that you can blow other places. Speaking of blowing units other places, do we want to put anything on this Invictus Gaming plus 850? This is just an absolutely absurd number here. And if we know anything about IG is one of those teams that performs well as an underdog, no matter what the roster is, or they just get absolutely blasted. But huge range of outcomes there. I don't know what the Sims would say. I don't know where they would kind of fall within that. But RNG is a team that clinically likes to lose a game, and I'm not really sure why, because when they win a 2-1 series, one of the games they just absolutely look like I don't know, that they're not working. They're like, their brains aren't working. There's nothing going on. Absolutely like throwing the game, because the other two games, they'll look clinical. They'll look clean. And it's a night and day difference. And
maybe they're trying out some new things, maybe every single series they take one game and they go, this is our strategizing game. We're going to take this game to try out some new things. And then maybe none of them work for them.
Like perhaps, I mean, I've played some games at times.
I would like to take a plus.
I've taken some games where we all took teleport, but you weren't allowed to use your own teleport. Somebody else had to tell you when you could use your teleport. Maybe they're doing shit like that. Maybe Gala is telling Breathe when he can go ahead and use his teleport, and those are the reasons that's happening. I do think the plus 1.5, plus 225 is a good bet. This RNG team dropped a game to WE, and that's really all I need to know. Do I think that this is going to be a sweep? I do. But I'd rather, bet on a plus 225. I don't think it's a sweep more often than not. I think that, Invictus at least gets 1 out of 3. Gets 1 out of 3 times, if that makes sense.
No, entirely. And you're getting it's 2 plus 225, so it's 1 out of 3.25, so it's closer. It's even closer. It's closer to 31% of the time, like that. I think that's a good line. I think that they get that map more than for sure. I was expecting them to have a closer line on our good friends Patreon, but I was disappointed. I thought it was even closer than he had it, but you never know. You never with the way that things are going right now. Do they have double blue side?
RNG has the double blue side.
Oh no. Okay, I take it back. Lay it all on the line. Bet the rent money on RNG minus 1.5.
Yeah, but that's minus 310, so that's a pretty steep line.
Oh, that's not a fun line. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying I'm abstaining there. However, I am really interested. This isn't quite as good, and it's a little bit harder to achieve, but we're at 34.5 plus 700. Look, I think you could sprinkle there, but that's not really where I want to be. I probably want to bet the 27.5 and the 28.5 plus 170 and plus 210, and work my way up to that plus 700 with smaller units. Now, I don't have the entire updated game log for IG, but it doesn't. It's not that hard to take a look at this and see that almost, I would say probably 60%, maybe more. I don't have the exact number, but you can look at it. You can do the eye test, grind the tape here. Most of these games are going over 28.5, 27.5. They're going over 29. We're getting into the 30s. The 34.5 is a stretch, but that's why it's plus 700. If you put a little bit on the other two, it hits. It pays for that. If you get an absolute bonanza, it pays for that. The absolute worry that you have is that this IG team sucks, and they do, and they're not good, and they fall behind. And then RNG just really doesn't, pressure because they are a team that has shown that they're very comfortable winning, with 15 or 16 kills. They will just macro you, much like some of the LCK teams will. You see this in their kill per wins, 16, 15, 13, 16, 13. So my fear is, my fear is that RNG doesn't really hold up their side of the bargain. Maybe IG doesn't hold up their side of the bargain. If you were only going to bet on one game being the game that goes over instead of doing all three of them, I personally would take game 2 where IG does have blue side, because I think that their likelihood of winning that game is much higher than games 1 and 3.
Right, and the odds that they win cleanly are pretty slim. So definitely like that idea there.
So I like that we're just perma betting all of these wild overs after a very small sample size that was yesterday, but
bias. This is all, we're caring about all the long-term data here for sure.
I am paying attention to it. I just think it's trending upwards. We're at the end of the season, so this is not rooted in yesterday, but I guess yesterday was kind of like taking a shot. It gives you extra confidence to do it.
Exactly, it's telling you, hey, it's not a bad idea. Let's have some fun.
You see that pretty girl over 34.5. You see her at plus 700 standing across the room. And maybe you're just a little bit timid and you don't want to go talk to her. But then, Zeka drops, or Zeka drops, I don't even know how you say his name, whichever one it is. But he drops 125, 17 kills by himself in a game 1. And you're like, let's go talk to it. Let's hit that 34.5. Let's get that plus 700. Speaking of games and my favorite LCK teams, we've got, a Chris and Nathan special here. The Sandbox Sand Sharks, minus 139 favorites against KT Rolster, aiming and a team that fucks. These are 2 of my favorite LCK teams to play. It's becoming less so, only because people are catching on. I think these 2 teams have been the biggest gold mine consistently, especially when they're paired with LPL favorites that people want to bet, because these teams don't feel sexy, but somehow they score points. Aiming scores points. Rascal scores points. Prince scores points. I can't say the same for Sandbox as a whole, but sometimes Closer gets in there. Sometimes Dove does. Sandbox is a favorite here. I don't know. What's your lean? Sandbox, KT? This is almost a pick 'em. If you have a strong lean, I think you bet one of them.
It's pretty brutal for me because like you, I think these. So like when I said like Brianna and HLE were my 2 favorite teams, they're just like 2 of the teams that I like. Then like I usually take them as underdogs because they're like decent underdogs usually. And these 2 teams, Sandbox and KT, I have the same sort of relationship with them, where I like them both and I take them both probably too often in a lot of spots. So it poses a problem for me here because like I probably lean Sandbox, but do I lean Sandbox like minus whatever it is, minus 170? You think you said? Probably not. Probably think that if it's like, probably just take the dog here if it's because it's probably pretty close to a pick 'em. Yeah, you're right on that. So you probably just take the dog and just run with it.
Yeah, unless you have a strong lean that you think Sandbox is going to win. I as I recall, Sandbox did win the previous game between these 2 teams. For some reason, I don't know if I have it listed. I do. Yeah, Sandbox did. It was a low-scoring game. It was a lot earlier in the season. I think it was on 12-11. With 12-14 here, I think that we are seeing some of these higher kill totals. Look, KT played Damwon and got a 36 and a 27. They had a 27 with Nongshim. Sandbox was pretty close with DRX. They were the team that hit 31 in 2 of those games. They have a 40 and a 32 with Gen, a 32, a 26, a 33 with HLE. These are some teams that can put up some points. And while they are, it is a do you think it's overreacting to play these kind of totals, or do you think that you want to go the other way as I just piss away all of my money betting these overs? Because, you know, we look at the way that these two teams played before, and I guess that there is quite a bit on the line when these two teams play because, you know, you can say that they're battling for fourth, they're battling for third, they're battling for that kind of next team up after Gen G and Team One. Who's going to be better? KT's coming out looking for revenge, looking to cement themselves as that. Sandbox looked bad for a couple series, but has popped back, surprised us with a win against Damwon, and really would cement themselves as a much better team than people give them credit for if they can beat KT here. KT has shown us that they sometimes have trouble closing games, but I can totally see this game because of the the equal levels of talent. I think these teams are very similar versions of each other. I think that they could play a really high scoring game. Both of these teams focus around their ADCs. Both of them have very serviceable mids, questionable in other positions. I guess I give the slight nod to KT just because I think Rascal is probably the second or third best player behind Aiming and Prince in this game.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. I think I gave KT the nod at a lot of positions. I just think that they have a little trouble with, like you said, with like coordinating and actually like closing something out. But I do believe that they like as like an individual talent level, I think they're better. I probably stick with the take KT or do nothing this one. That's my betting. My non.
What about this though? 32.5 plus 900.
11% or what is it? 10%? That's 10% of the time. What's the total?
Well, let me make this better. The total's 22.5. Let me make this better for you. You bet the plus 900, but they don't even let you ladder it up. You can bet over 26.5 at plus 230.
Over 26.5 at plus 230.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's probably good. That's got that's 100% like a correct bet. There's no like Vince, if you're in here, correct me if I'm wrong, but like if we just assume that like the standard deviation on that, like whatever, it's definitely a good bet. The plus 26.5.
I think it is. I mean, just reading off, like, let's say the last 5 series, 19, 24, 26, 27, 19, 17, 14, 23, 27, 19, 15, 20, 20, 36, 37. The other team, Sandbox has a couple there too. Now, look, when I look at these two, I'm not just looking at how many times they get over. It's just how many times they get close, 1 or 2 kills, because 1 or 2 extra kills can come from a lot of different places. Maybe somebody didn't pressure at the end, whatever the case is, as long as they're getting close with those type of odds. Man, I'm taking it. I don't think that I've seen odds like that in a game where I think that you have 2 teams that are so evenly matched and have the ability to get to those totals and do it as frequently as these 2 teams do. I might just abstain from going crazy on some of the other ones, and I might throw full units on that 26.5. Hell, I might even just throw like a 2-banger on one. I might just try and get rich. I might throw the whole thing on it. I might max it.
Throw your rent right on the plus 26.5.
I think so. I think that's the play.
I think we do need the Gug's approval on it, so please let us know, Peter. Will, that seems... I haven't done anything for this slate, but I'm going to later. I will keep that in mind, that you played a KT team slot. Is this just a 4-3? Yeah. Also,
I don't know if you caught the comment at the beginning. We've got Spell thinking that you're doing your Instacart right now.
No, we moved out of my apartment today, so I'm going to drop off the last things for storage at my mom's place, and then drop off some screwdriver borrowed from our cousin to our cousins, and then I'm going to bed before I got to return this car in the morning, and then we're heading out for vacation for a week. So,
awesome. Well,
busy day.
Last game, we've got FPX plus 180 against Weibo Gaming minus 250. FPX does have blue side advantage. Not that sometimes matters with the way that they play. Not that you need it sometimes with the way Weibo plays. This is one of those. We'll get into it from a DFS perspective because I think that this game's extremely interesting, and I think a lot of the games on this slate are extremely interesting, save for one. I don't have a lean. I'm not betting here. I don't want to put 2.5 units on Weibo. I think, me and Josh talked about it yesterday, whether it was on stream or off, that a lot of the lines at this point in the season are pretty accurate. They're pretty good. There are a couple that are bad, and you can attack those, but I try and abstain from the ones that I think are at least somewhat close. And I don't want to put 2.5 units on Weibo. That never feels good.
Yeah, I mean, from a DFS perspective, I haven't looked yet, but can you tell me what like Huan Fang's price is? If it's like
Yeah, we'll take a look at it in a second. Just to follow the entire theme of this show so far, the craziness bets here: plus 700 at 35.5, plus 22 or plus 220 at 29.5. And when we look at these two teams, I think FPX, again, this is not fully updated. FPX has quite a few games around that 28 spot. So maybe you just take the 27.5 here. The problem is Weibo is just all over the place when it comes to totals. I think that they have, more of these 11-3, 7-3 games than anybody, but they do have some fiestas, quite a few 30 kill bangers. I think that the safe spot here is maybe going plus 120 or plus 145 at 26.5, 27.5. If you want to, I think the theory behind it for me is you bet one of those or bet two of those, hope that they hit, and that gives you the equity to go ahead and chase the 35.5 if it hits. There have been times where I've talked myself out of that, i.e. the JDG Victory 5 series, that I just wish I hadn't, because I would have gotten rich off of it. So that's the strategy there. That's going to wrap up the betting. Let's go ahead and get into the DFS. Huan Fang's price is what you were asking.
Yeah, just like
he's the second highest priced ADC at 7,800.
Okay, so that's good. So what I hate is when they're on a slate, when we was on a slate, and Huan Fang's like 7.4, like 7,400. Because what happens then is they just come in so massively owned. But I guess it depends on what the other pricings are. Like Sandbox and Sandbox's price versus there's a lot of mildly priced underdogs because there's a lot of really close lines. So unless you're playing like Weibo and RNG together, you're gonna probably easily fit some sort of 4-stack of Weibo with Huan Fang captain with an LCK dog. It maybe even a favorite given the pricings, given the lines. So
yeah, let's run through some combos here. RNG is probably going to be 35 to 40% owned. Ming captain with Weibo is the way that you have to go if you're going RNG. But if you go RNG with KT as an example, easy ADC captain. If you go with Sandbox, I suspect you can at least get a. So it's a jungle captain situation there.
That's pretty crazy. Well, what is it for Reddit for Breon? I guess would be the.
Well, so Sandbox though you can get with Weibo if you wanted to take a step down from RNG, and you can get an ADC captain. But if you go Breon,
that's ridiculous. What that is. So I said earlier about it being a better slate for pricing for Weibo, because if you can do double ADC with Weibo and Sandbox, then it's broken, and we're gonna see 20% Captain Huan Fang or something. Not actually, but we're gonna see 10 to 12% Captain Huan Fang, and if I play, I'm just donating money whenever they win. They're the team that kicks my ass. I don't play them ever, and they always kick my ass. So that's just the way that it is.
Trying to see what we can get here with 4,700. So you can't get a ton with Bro. That's the thing. If you want, Bro is priced up. So look, here's the thing that I've noticed and I've always known, and you can look back at the slates this week specifically. People are going to try and figure out, and they will, and somehow 4-stack RNG. RNG is going to be the highest owned team on the slate. How far behind Weibo is the other question, but Weibo you can fit with just about everybody. I think Bro is the only team that you can't. So then it just comes down to, yeah, because you're top captaining there, but what if you go Brayon and like KT? You can do some stuff there. Like this is a popular lineup. This is going to be a lineup that, I mean, I say popular, but it's going to be a relatively popular lineup because the Lava Henna Brion team slot with a 4-stack from another team is just something that you see all the time. Shit, I build one almost every time that Brion's on the slate. But it's just how much are people going to want to play Brion and KT? Like,
Yeah, probably not a lot, especially given the fact that you could do a double ADC Weibo sandbox. So that you Weibo with any LCK team that's not Brion double ADC, pretty much. So I think you're gonna see a lot less double LCK than on a lot of slates, just given that those lineups are possible. But I feel like they do a pretty poor job of pricing in general over the past few months. So, but like you were saying, everyone's gonna want the 4 RNG. Everyone's gonna want the 4 Weibo. It's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be tough to find a popular lineup that doesn't include both of them.
what would you prefer that the pricing be? Would you prefer that it be tighter and more restrictive? Or do you feel like it would be better if they just like opened it up and let you do almost anything that you wanted?
Give me 1 second, sorry.
So I'll give my opinion on this. I almost think that I'd rather have it as like literally anything that you could fit in. I find it like when you're forcing somebody, as an example, to play, okay, so you're basically discouraging people from playing this, at least in GPPs. People will still play it in the in some of the smaller tournaments. This is still a pretty viable lineup because the range of outcomes of these two teams being the two highest scoring teams probably happens quite frequently. But, look, in bigger GPPs, this is just still kind of a bad lineup. It can still win. I would rather people have the ability to play ADC RNG and ADC Weibo because, quite frankly, these two teams are going to fail frequently enough. And, God, the ownership would be just astronomical on them in comparison.
I changed my opinion the second I said it, because the second I said it, it made me think about what it meant to say that, and then I realized that
we lost you. So we'll wait for him to come back here. Soft pricing is the correct answer.
Yeah, I do agree with that, Will. The second I said it out loud, I realized that I was being an idiot. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's gonna suck the days that like you're gonna play the dogs and like RNG and Weibo go off. But if you think like right now, like if we agree that Weibo or RNG is probably going to be, let's say in the 333, it's a 70-person tournament, but it's usually a pretty good representation of what even translates into the 15 to some extent. RNG is going to be 30 to 40%. That's my guess. Somehow, like some of these members are going to just get jammed into lineups. People will figure it out. If you go to the 15, they're probably on the lower end of that. But if you were able to fit them with Weibo, you'd probably see them more like 50, 55, 60%. And I don't think that they're the highest scoring team on the slate
that often. Of course
not even close. I would argue that at 30, 40%, it's a bad bet.
It's probably, I agree with that. It's probably a little bit overowned at that mark as well. So, yeah, I mean, I do agree with Will now. Softest pricing is probably the best idea because then you just get the field to gravitate towards a couple of lineups, and then you have less lineups to beat because there's so much chalk that you just have to just like your decisions become a lot easier when the pricing is softer as a player who's not just like playing what the field's playing.
Yeah, like look, so if you want to play, like one of the things that you see when the pricing is like this, like if you want to play Brayon, you're almost forced to play them with KT or Sandbox, which kind of sucks because then what ends up happening is, what if you're right about it and it is a bro day? There are other people that play bro, but they're going to play bro the same way that you play bro because it's the only way you can play bro. And that, I mean, that sucks, for RNG too. But, look, if you're going with the field on a 40% RNG, then like if you fail, you fail. You get what you deserve. But with Bro, like, dude, you deserve to get paid. I know they're playing HLE. I know that they're a minus 170 favorite, but like if Bro just has a DRX like performance, you should get paid. The problem is you're going to be competing with like 10% of lineups, and they're all going to be like 5% are going to be KT, 5 going to be Sandbox, and you're just going to chop with like 4 or 5 of your best mates. See, I'm using some London terms for you there.
Oh, thank you. I do need the practice. I'm worried that I'm gonna just become it's all gonna rub off on me. I'm pretty easily influenced by people around me there, so I'm probably gonna start talking all weird, which is gonna be something for sure. But yeah, I think that you're right on that. When pricing is restrictive, even when what you want to happen happens, like you start seeing a lot of lineups that just like are much more likely to be popular, and then you have to chop a lot. But that's when you got to start, this is not me being serious here, but you got to start considering the 3-2-2s and the 1-2-1-1-1-1s, start throwing the weird lineups in there. Not necessarily that weird, but I think if you were to run, for example, some sort of 4-2-1 where your 1 was an underdog, then maybe you'd see a lot less duplication in the case that you can play Bro and still get away with it.
Yeah. I totally agree. I just think, when it comes to the 15, people are throwing in so much random stuff, and it almost feels like, man, if the 4-game slate really kind of screws up a lot of stuff. If it was a 5-game slate, I think it changes the entire dynamic of how you play. It changes the dynamic of how they price. And it obviously adds so many more dynamics to the range of outcomes and the simulations and what they can actually be. That's why we like the Western slates, except for their best of ones. And that throws a whole other wrench into the equation there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Well, hey, look, this has been a kind of a short episode of the Shark Cove. We're not going to go into the LEC unless you really want to, Nathan. I'm not trying to do it, but
I definitely cannot. So you are welcome to, but I am going to hop out now. I got to go throw some stuff in the house and then get back to Zoe before, got to shower and get ready for tomorrow. So I appreciate it.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for coming on. Parting words that I have for everybody that's watching. Nathan, you're going to want to somehow catch this. I know you're going to be on vacation, but I think we're going to have another song released on Tuesday, for Will's appearance on the Shark Cove. It's a banger. It's already in the works. It's been fantastic. I had a moment, and this is going to be a top-rated single. Man, you guys are not going to want to miss it. I don't know what the video is going to look like. I don't even know what the lyrics are, but we have the concept. I have 1 or 2 verses, and you guys heard my musical stylings yesterday. You've heard Justin's. You're not going to want to miss Tank Top Tuesday with Will and the new single that's coming out. So look for kind of, hints that come out, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Probably not. But if I decide to do the show, I'll let everybody know. Nathan, thanks for joining. Remember to go check out Clout Fantasy. I can't actually play it in Virginia, so that's cool. But hey, you can still use my link. And I guess I'll get Clout Fantasy dollars, and I can use it when I go to Michigan next month. Maybe it's there. So, but yeah, hey, thanks everybody. I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy the music.
See you guys.